Alright, guys. So, I'm gonna try to make this quick. This is still part one. But basically, I had a janky phone I was recording on. Even though this camera is worse, it's just got some. Yeah, let's see if we can. Actually fixed. Okay. Anyways. God, there's so much I could say right now. And it's all gonna come out eventually. But, totally different vibe. Man, it was really doom and gloom a second ago. I don't know if it was just that old phone or what, but I'm gonna get back into it. I look at myself and I think, wow, who are you? And then sometimes I'm like, I could still see him in there, but it's like, not really. Anyways, I think what I wanted to touch up on was really just how important it is to hold on to your faith. Despite the universe disagreeing with you, or it feels like the universe is disagreeing with you because the majority of influence that you're going to receive is going to be malevolent, but coded in benevolence. So they pretend like they're good guys, but they're really just hurting you. And they can't tell you because then if you figure it out, you'll get free. And I might be at that point, but I might die trying to save everyone else. Or at least it really does feel like there are two parties. It really does. And they're not parties at all, in my mind. They're definitely more of armies, but the real question is, how do you get your message across so that everyone can benefit from it? Because everyone deserves the opportunity to benefit from anything you can provide. That's why information is so powerful, because it's the most liberating thing that you can provide. And to be honest, it really does feel like sometimes it's all an illusion, but it doesn't feel like I would be here right now if it was. It feels like the only reason that I'm given this opportunity, as little as it may feel, as insignificant as it may seem, it's really about your intentions. Doesn't matter where you are. In fact, the people with the greatest intentions are going to be under the greatest threat in a world that has been consumed by corruption. Corruption has been a more favorable word, in my opinion, ever since I alpha tested Ashes of Creation, which I can't even begin to start talking about, man. The Sword Art Online life that I lived while I lived it was extra dimensional almost. It's interesting because sometimes it feels like when you do the right thing, you get in trouble for it. But the people that make you feel like you got in trouble are actually evil people. Anybody that has that kind of power over you is automatically in the wrong. I mean, it all depends on what you do, but like, when it comes to gaming, when it comes to streaming, when it comes to content creation, I think it's a beautiful opportunity for us to sort of fight back in that way, where it's really about how you say what you say, because like I said, the hardest part is usually getting the message through. How do you hook the listener, right? It's about what you're talking about, really. At the end of the day, it's about what you're talking about. In my mind, faith is right now the most important thing that you can talk about, because more than anything, I see almost like the universe just finding different ways to break that off of people, because it almost feels like the strongest aspect of our relationship with our Creator. And I don't know anything about what that entails, but if I can find anything left in society, anything left in humanity that makes sense, it's my relationship to faith and how it has connected me to unique individuals and specific people amongst the crowd that feel benevolent and to a point have kept me alive. And to be honest, it's all a perception, because sometimes it feels like I have died a lot. I've woken up from so many things that don't make sense. I believe almost more now that I shouldn't be here than I should. And I think that's the reason why I have to speak up and tell people that life is more than meets the eye, because the eye is being blinded. And to be honest, sometimes there's a good reason why it feels good to close your eyes, you know. Society just needs to give people a break, and it needs to let people go. Really, it's what it feels like. It's almost a black hole society has become. And if you're not careful, you'll fall in, but you'll die to the velocity, just trying to fit in. It wasn't made for you to fit in. It almost feels like it was created for you to fall in. And, you know, some people die for talking like that. So it's really not about that, because you'll hear people talk about that till you're old and gray if you get there. People are always going to say something like, oh, the government this, the government that, oh, people in control this, people in control that. But you know what saves people that are in every single one of those ships? Because just because you're in one of those ships doesn't mean that you're the one steering it. And you might have been born on that ship and not have a choice of where it goes. And then another ship's just going to come up and kill you because you got a certain type of sail. You know, you could jump off, you could run away. And I'm sure a lot of people do. I feel like I jumped off the boat I was on to get here. But it wasn't because I saw land or because I had faith. It was because another ship was coming by, and they almost what felt psychically knew I was in danger. That's a whole nother topic. Because they didn't the way I have to describe this is insane. But basically, it was like, you know, they couldn't really help me until I jumped off anyways. So sometimes you gotta jump off before they can actually help you. But by the time I jumped off, it was like they knew, man. To be honest, like, I feel like I was getting attacked physically by poison from people I was living with and people I was renting from, and it felt like they were a part of some sort of satanic cult, and they were gonna kidnap me, dude. Like I had a vivid nightmare of being kidnapped by the people that I was living with, and it was the scariest thing I've ever been through, man. And right around that time, it all kind of turned around, and it was like, because I think my universe, or because I in the universe perceived my reality in that way genuinely, that it almost had to catch me, right? Because the universe, it has safety mechanisms for benevolent people. It's a benevolent design that's been seemingly hijacked by malevolent people. And that's why this is so hard. Because the more you know, the harder it is for them to do anything to you. And that's all they want to do, is everything to you. It's very much the alien with the tentacles behind the curtain, just watching the show. But when you take your power back, when you decide that you're not gonna sacrifice your energy for them or their show, it's almost like they start running away from you, or the people that are fighting them back you up. But you gotta prove yourself, and that means it's not always a physical proof, but it can be. It's definitely gonna take every single aspect. But when I felt like I succeeded that final test, for me it was almost more emotional and psychological than anything. I had to convince myself that I was going to be able to take care of myself. And the thing was, they had already given me a way out financially months prior, because it was like almost, I don't know, it all feels ordained in a way when you're benevolent, when you're going with the flow. It's so much easier to relax, but sometimes you can get yourself stuck in some serious rapids, and by the time you get done with the flow, I mean, it could take a long time. For me, it felt like months. Or yeah, it was like a 2-month process, but it was like 3 months total, because 2 weeks prior and it's about 2 weeks now post. Where I'm feeling like I'm coming out of it officially. I mean, I could walk around outside and still know that these literal vampires in multiple forms, but ultimately physically, they just use all their other forms to get you to that point. Once you know that they are not the strongest force, that the benevolent side, the angelic side is the force in power, you can gain confidence knowing what you're up against cannot defeat you entirely unless you let it. You have to denounce your faith in order for them to truly hurt you. Because I can tell you right now, I mean, I've held on to my faith my whole life, and I feel hurt beyond measure. But to be truly hurt is to lose your faith. It's not only these physical, visual memories or fascinations of deja vu that we seemingly relate to as if they're otherworldly or past life-ish, but it's vibrations in general. I think though our lives change, the vibrations remain the same, and that's why I've always been an advocate for like pattern recognition in humans, even though that sounds really robotic. But I think humans have been sabotaged in a way where their pattern recognition system has actually been targeted in a negative way. And I think once they identify how to utilize their pattern recognition system. How can you relate this pattern to another pattern in a way that connects the whole picture? How can you see that there are two sides to this coin? That's when you start growing. That's all a part of growing your faith. And you can't really start growing your faith. I think putting water on that plant of faith is the act of denouncing the physical and all that it has to offer. And you can't begin to denounce the physical and all it has to offer until you can agree that it has been corrupted. And it's not necessarily evil, or it wasn't created to be evil. Everything was created to be benevolent. It's all just been manipulated. But by whom and for what purpose? That is a dark, never-ending rabbit hole, and nobody is actually intended to go down that hole. But, some messages are for people that end up in certain places, so. And I just wanted to give people like a survival booklet, because even though my entire way of survival could be unique and not meant for anyone else, sometimes it feels like it can help a lot of people. Sometimes a small amount of words feel like they can do more than any action possible, and I think that's gonna boil down to more of what I want to talk about in future vlogs. But I have so much to talk about. It's just gonna come down to like what comes up at the moment and how I can kind of like create some sort of timeline so that it makes sense in the whole of things. Because there's definitely an end point, but I mean, in order for me to talk about what I want to at the end point, it's like I gotta have people that are on the same page. So right now, I'm trying to get people on the same page, and I've seen a lot of potential in my reality, and from what my reality contains, it's a very small fraction of what exists. So I know that the process that they're using, this whole internet stuff, can be incredibly useful, and I've seen people do great things. I've seen people make incredible mistakes, and I'm not saying that I'm not going to make incredible mistakes, but if I have an opportunity to do some good before I make those mistakes, it's better that I do that. But there are a lot of people, I'd say millions of people that are worth your time, and you're worth theirs, and there's a lot to be gained, and there's at least 100% chance you're gonna meet one of them if you keep going. I think I probably seen one every single day. I might not have talked to them, but I think I've walked past them. You can feel it too in people's energy. The people that derive from fear are going to make you feel anxious. They're going to make you feel like you are behind or late, and you need to rush and you need to hurry. That is wrong. That is malevolent nature. Benevolent nature is going to allow you to take as much time as you need. In fact, the benevolent nature will allow you to die before it tells you need to continue onward. Because that's what life is. It's a process of evolution that transcends lifetimes. And patience is a part of that transcendence. So it doesn't matter how long it takes for somebody to learn something. If you're nice about it, it's only going to be easier. It doesn't matter who they are or what it is. And there's so much to learn, especially here, and I'm realizing that's why I'm here. But it's not so much what people have to say as much as what they choose to say. But it's not so much what they choose to say, but when they say it and how. And that's why people use mediums. That's why people are trying to get through to you through the internet, because it's almost like it's the only way. There's just, once you actually understand it's a war, you can understand why communication is so tactful, why people have to beat around verbal bushes, why you can't get the final message until you're ready to chew through the introduction and all this crap. I'm not even ready to say it. I don't even know what it is. I'm just saying God is choosing people for certain tasks, and you have the freedom, like quests, to take upon these tasks. And it's up to you, really. The quest board is there, and you have to say whether or not you're going to attempt that quest. And most of the quests that I've noticed that are benevolent are just talking to people about your experience. Telling people what you go through can make the world of a difference, can change people's lives for some reason. But that reason for me feels like unity, collaboration, or connection. Because I think that could potentially be one of our strongest assets as a creation. Obviously, if this was our intended purpose, then it makes sense for us to lean into that. I don't know if communication the way that we do it now was intended, but I think the intended communication would have been more musically harmonious. I think it's interesting what I've learned from my cat and how words aren't the greatest form of communication at all. In fact, I think words are almost like an example of a lack of abilities to communicate, right? Kind of like training wheels. Society really has strapped us down with a bunch of different gadgets and gizmos that feel like weights on around our ankles sometimes. We've been backpedaling and spiraling into disaster for probably long enough. That's what I'm getting. And there's going to be a lot of people that kind of step out and say, hey, we got to turn things around, basically. We got to go the other direction. I think instead of isolating people and creating division, we need to unify people and create connection. And that's the hardest thing to do. And the reason they're not doing it isn't because they don't know how, it's because it's difficult. And the further and more disconnected you get, the more difficult it is. And I think you can get to a point where it can actually kill you. And I think that's what fallen angels are, is people that have gone so far, not people. I don't know if they're considered people. Fallen angels, let's not consider them people. The fallen angels are things that have been teaching our humans how to disconnect and divide. In very, very strategic ways, I add. Almost strategic as benevolence itself, but not quite. That's what's so beautiful about benevolence, is it's overpowerful. It's literally overpowerful. It's been tuned in this game to be like a broken mechanism that has been considered taboo and shunned upon. But I was gonna keep this brief. So yeah, I'm gonna cut my hair. I was just like really pissed off today because I got scammed trying to get some money and just so many things around. I'm too ashamed to ask my parents for money because we have a really bad relationship, even though one of them tries too hard. And it's just a really difficult wound with the other one. But it's okay to have a bad relationship with your parents. You can have a horrible... I think I've had one of the worst relationships with my parents as anyone could have. But by faith, I was able to bring it back. Through literal blind faith. Because I think everybody's so easily manipulated. And once you get to that point, kind of like what I was saying about the fallen angels not even being able to be... I mean, if they were benevolent at this point, their physical form might collapse. So the story goes. But when it comes to the human beings, It's very similar, and yet it's still reversible. I think even for any, at the time of our reckoning, any single person would have or will have that physical opportunity to revert to a benevolent form, and that can come across very shallow, right? Form. What does that mean? Physically, like, do they just look attractive? Is what society thinks is attraction okay? That's the real question. And it's not about attraction. It's about benevolence itself. What is benevolence? I mean, you can't be benevolent if you're faking it. That's just what benevolence is. So it's far deeper than your physical form, but your physical form is a representation of what happens beyond the deep, in that depth. In that depth expands outward like a tree, and that tree is your physical form. And we can perceive these trees in different ways. Some people think, oh wow, that tree is disgusting and hideous, but that tree looks gorgeous. And that perception is what's important, because if we're looking at people, it's so, from a shallow aspect, it's so easy to be manipulated. I mean, that's just your single outer form to manipulate. I mean, you can have somebody trim a hedge and then your outer form is manipulated, look to whatever you want it to look like. That's how easy it is to manipulate our outer form. You can't even perceive the inner form of somebody. That's how difficult it is. You have to extrapolate what's inside and then assume. And then people get married for 10 years assuming they know what people look like on the inside and don't. So how do people get there? I think it's obvious, but it's really difficult to extrapolate into words. I don't know. I mean, through faith, we can do all things. And in one of those things includes being able to perceive who you can trust. And I don't think, you can hold anybody accountable to getting anything 100% of the time, because we're all flawed in our own special way, and it affects everything. Every single person's flaw that they are afflicted with is going to affect them in everything, in all things. And how do I connect this to this vlog and my reality and where it's going? A lot of the flaws that I was facing with and that I was dealing with and that other people are going to go through, and people that have gone through other stuff, it really comes down to overcoming tests. Very much like you're in school. You'll get these boss fights, and eventually, once you get over that boss fight, it's like, it doesn't fix everything, but it fixed the big stuff, the stuff that was going to hold you back. And that's why God provides you with these opportunities, because he knows you need this experience, you need to level up, and you need to grow. Even if you don't want to, it's the best thing for you, and it's probably going to be the most difficult. That's why that's why we're here. We want to fight the greatest fight. That's why we're all trying to do this thing together. And it comes off as so greedy and all these other sinful things, because we just want the glory. Everybody wants the glory for themselves, and they think the glory is something that they can isolate and hold on to, like energy source, like power. But glory is never yours. It never belongs to you. It's God's. And how do you expand upon God's glory? You share it, because other people can create more with it. It's very much like nature. You have to let it go, let it grow. And a lot of that and a lot of this is me kind of building upon my faith and helping people see that, because I'm going to go through my path, my journey regardless, right? So why not help other people to understand, like, at least you're not alone, and you also feel like some other people, because part of the world growing darker is preventing people from seeing the light, and the light is you are more connected. I mean, think about the universe. Think about how isolating, I mean, from what we know, there's like nothing else out there, right? And then what we got going on here on Earth. you are more connected to anything ever in this galaxy that we know of, apparently, seemingly, and that's fine. That's actually so beautiful, right? So why are we all running away from each other and hiding in holes and ticky-tackies? It's just like, it doesn't really make sense, right? The whole universe is lonely, and then everybody on this planet is hiding from each other. Well, I think a lot of that has to do with politics, personally, and I'm not going to get into it too much because I know how easy it is to fall off that ladder. But I think you can be political without trying, and as long as you keep not trying, you don't have to worry about what other people think. So I'm going to keep trying to not be political, even though everything you do is political. And at the end of the day, the vampires are the ones that are ruining society, because they're literally just eating us. And they learned it from the fallen angels, because the fallen angels are only in power of material. You can't get stuck in the material realm unless you got secret tech. But you wouldn't want to be here if you knew you could escape. The problem is, they can't escape because they were banished down. They know what it's like on the other side. They've been on the other side. And they know there's no going back. So they're going to make the most out of what they got going on here, even though it's going to end up, I guess maybe they're getting punished regardless. Either way, they're definitely running it down mid. And I think the most beautiful and inspiring thing to see in my life is other people ignoring how obvious it is that the enemy is running it down mid. And they don't have to worry about how reckless that is because they have more resources. So they can just keep running it down mid. They can keep playing like idiots and use numbers, right? Because they have some sort of leverage on the system. But what leverage they do have was given to them because there is always and always will be a way out. And on the next episode, I'm going to cut this thing off, man. I'm going buzz cut. But I got to go pee and I finished my drink. And I'm already stoned. So, yeah. This was great. This is a great part one of... Wait, no, this is... I don't know what part this is of what, but yeah. This is going to be a long video. All tied into the first ever vlog, and I'll probably do another one. Like, if I ever do them, they'll be like once a year at most. To be honest, I hate it. I hate this. But I am gonna start playing a video game, and that's exciting. So I could tell you what we do have planned in the works, and I'll reiterate on the last part. But what I excitingly do want to remember is that I'm going to do at least I'm going to do at least 2 more Let's Plays before I put out another album. But I am going to be working on that album during those entire 2 Let's Plays. And they're going to be very slow because of that. But I also have a ton of time on my hands. And I think that is because I am being ordained into this process. And I don't want it to come off as like, oh man, if I don't do it, I'm going to fail or whatever. But I'm at the point now where I'm so confident and happy about it that I can say like, man, I'm about to run it down. I'm about to run it right back down mid, and they're backing me up. So stay tuned. But it's gonna be like a 2-year process. I think it'll take about 2 years. But in about 2 years, I'll have 2 more Let's Plays and an album. Stay tuned. Morgan's killing it. But he's been on the fucking cryogenic chamber or whatever. And yeah, I'm kind of just like the middleman sometimes. But yeah, it's his war, you know. I'm just the messenger. So stay tuned. Peace. Yo, I'm back, and don't ask me how, but I just recorded like a 30-minute video talking about all the shit I wanted to talk about. But I didn't hit record. I don't really do this that often. I don't make vlogs. I don't intend to make a vlog. I mean, streaming is easy. It's so easy. I mean, you're just sitting down in your chair. I'm out here in the wilderness. Like, there's potential threats. Real life potential threats. a lot more real life potential threats. I just restocked. I was gonna say I might have that. Yeah, I got an emergency cat food if I see that skinny guy. But my other phone was not recording very well. This phone, I forgot to hit record. What I was on about. And it's good for me to just harp on this so I can just let it go, I think. But I guess what I'm just gonna have to boil it down to is, I mean, it just feels goofy at this point. It's like I just keep repeating myself and my reality doesn't even feel real, but that's kind of like what it feels like they want you to think, right? A lot of the times it feels like they're just creating obstacles so that they can keep themselves hidden. A lot of the potential threats that they have stem from their invisibility. If you can manipulate your reality to understand that if you isolate yourself from them physically, then half of the threats that they have against you is just purely minor obstacles that the people that are benevolent can deal with like nothing. Cook it like butter. Cook it like cake or something. Bake it like a cake. And that's what's been happening. Sometimes just because you're actually targeted, it deems you worthy of success. I've never felt closer to an enemy than when I felt like my last roommate was like a parasitic vampire. Like he was poisoning my food with parasites and then trying to feed off of my energy by just literally just, I mean, if I boiled it down to something, he was going to end up kidnapping me. And because of the faith that I had and the connection to the spirit realm that I have, I was blessed with a vision during my sleep in order to escape. I mounted my mattress against my door so I could sleep at night because I can't say is the best decision, but what I wish I would have done, because it's also dangerous though, because I had a katana and I held on to that shit like it was gonna save my life. I mean, I literally the other night I had a dream I had to go live with that same and I had to stab him to get him away from me. It was crazy, but your perception is reality. So you have to put yourself in an environment to allow yourself to perceive a positive reality, because your environment is what's being manipulated. That's all they can touch. They can't touch you unless you tell them they can touch you. But what they can do is they can manipulate your environment. But what you can do is we are blessed with a great environment in order to escape, because when they maintain control over an environment, they can't control over the entire earth. There are powers and forces that be that are greater than them that will never relinquish power because of the order that they are up under. For your sake, benevolently, but you have to believe in them in order to succeed, because they're always helping you. They're keeping track of you guys. There's more of them than there are of anything else, and that is the greatest reason to hold on to your faith. If there ever was one, it would probably be greater than that. It would be because they worked for the person who literally created you and everything else. Damn, I'm really noticing like that. I guess it's the angle, but like, and a lot of the time it's gonna get rocked because you think you deserve more than you have. But if you had what you thought you deserved, you would crumble under the pressure, because that's what it is. Rewards from God, the glory of this earth that it has to offer. It's pressurizing. It's a process that is similar to an ingot turned to a blade. You want pressure, but you don't want too much. Otherwise, you have to start over. And we're all just swords in the forging, trying to not chip and shatter to the pressure or grindstone. So what keeps you together, in my opinion, would be faith. And I can harp on that all night, but in reality, I feel like I'm getting to a point where I've said a certain amount, and I just have to wait until the next episode where I start cutting this mop that I got on. I'm gonna show you guys, man. This thing's gotten pretty nuts. I got a little ball back there, man. And then before I cut it, I'll go ahead and I'll let it out of the cage. But I love long hair. I'm a proud owner of long hair and a sponsor. I think it has to do with being Native American and also Mexican. I am 50% Irish, and I think that shows in the calic. Maybe the nose. No, the nose is very native. But my point is, I'm gonna let that shit out of the cage before I cut it. But the cutting is the example. Like, from what I've heard from from other people talking about, like, why monks cut their hair, or like why other people cut their hair. And like, my experience with when I cut my hair, it's always the end of a chapter, a great chapter, or sometimes even a book in your saga. So for me, it feels like a book. That being said, I should really I'm gonna give it another 5, actually, because you know what, I came here to do something and I haven't even done it, and I'm glad I'm recording this time. I'm only at 9 minutes, and I'm not very cold. I thought I was gonna get colder, even though I doubled up, so that's probably why. But hold, you know what's weird? So we go through such confusing times in our life, and we look up to the people that are not confused. But that, you know, maybe it's not the confusion that we should be trying to avoid. You know, maybe it's the perception of not being confused. Let me iterate on that. I think confusion can be benevolent. Kind of like when you're awe-inspired by a piece of art. You don't understand how it got there, but you appreciate it that it did. That's a miracle. And I think that's kind of like an example of my life and how, where it's come from. To be honest, it sounds like I'm supposed to extrapolate a little bit more upon my life, and right now is not the best time, but I guess I could let you guys know that there's a lot that goes on into like the process of getting to this point. I was gonna turn the camera around, but I don't even know how. There's like 2 buttons, and one of them's to turn it off. I'm not gonna post the other one. There's a fat crow though. Beautiful bird. But just to kind of touch up and finish off on what I was talking about, the most important thing you can hold on to in this life is your faith. It will get you to any place you need to be, not necessarily want to be. And that's why I'm here. That's the reason that I'm here now, is because I chose to believe that God is real. Because the second you convince yourself he's not, you're just sliding down a slope. I think God is the main reason that people aren't crazy. People aren't insane. I think God is the main reason people are sane. And what's left of people is God. It's almost like he's hijacking what's left of them because people are just fleeing, you know? People are just deleting internal systems, integral for his processing, for his benevolent work. It's the reason I'm not going to be a vocalist. I ruined that opportunity for myself. It's not that I can't sing or that I won't. But you get to a point where because of your actions, God will allow you alternative measures, alternative approaches to basically spreading his message, should you choose to do that. And I mean, if you don't, there's just a lot of reasons why you should. I don't know why you shouldn't, but I think the only reason why people don't is because it's actually easy to convince yourself that you're in control. When you're living in this reality, it's kind of like a dream not everybody can take, a dream that some people turn into a nightmare. Some people intentionally, some people victimly. But some people vividly take hold of this dream and they know how to drive it. And I think the steering wheel to this dream is very much rooted in faith. And it's not so much what you think control you have, but the control you allow others to have over you, specifically benevolent beings, because there are a group of benevolent beings as faceless as the malevolent ones. Maybe less, maybe more. Maybe it's not important whether or not they have a face. You know? Maybe it's what's important is your faith in general and how it extends forward. Let's say 4 people hear this and they attempt to live their life blindly, trusting benevolent people and letting go of materialistic things. Now, when I say that, it's not like go sell your shit and give your shit away. It's like if you have an opportunity to use your things efficiently to benefit other people, that's benevolence. And it's the most difficult thing to let go of something that is yours, especially in this life of very little things to get a hold of for most people. And that's the trick. It only takes one thing, one benevolent item to change your world. It's like when you're stuck in that river and you push off of that wall. One push can get you back into the flow of the universe. You just gotta keep going. You gotta find that current, and it's strong. It will take you. It's the most powerful thing in your life. The only other thing in your life is deception, and it is not as powerful as the current. And I say all this, but I swim like a baby goose with no wings. What's a better analogy? I swim like a I swim like I'm actually drawing a big blank. I love swimming, so this is weird because I'm great. I love swimming. I actually don't swim through life that bad, but I think what it is I've actually found myself so curious in some of the ripples that the land has to offer and the options of getting stuck, because they are so alluring. It is so easy to fall into these sinful ways, and part of this vlog is helping me to help you guys understand that, like, everyone makes incredibly difficult mistakes, but it's not always because they have ill intentions. Some people can have great intentions and fall into absolutely demonic traps and devices. I think that's what video games has become. I think if we can outwardly preach against demonicism and Satanism in video games, then they can actually turn society around in a small way. But, you know, we all fight our own battles, and we can't turn the world around one person, maybe at a time, but you can't do it on your own. And the only one trying to do anything on their own is going to be, at this point, the Antichrist, and he might not even be a human. So the only thing we do know is that we need to work together. And the funniest thing is, everyone is trying to do everything on their own. Well, most people are trying to do everything on their own, and most people that are having problems are doing things on their own, including myself. Some people can. It's not always the biggest problem in life you need to focus on or overcome, but I think it is one of the most important problems if you want to be more efficient. Now, at the price that it costs, you know, sometimes it's easier to just forget about it, or just work on, you know, like everything else that's going to help you in life. You need to crawl towards it. If it's benevolent, I mean, you have to make that forward progress in some way. But if it's hard, don't move fast. Creep on that shit. If it's good for you, just creep on it. You know what I mean? Like eating healthy and stuff. I know that's difficult for Alright, guys. Last video, it's getting late. Last part to part one. Basically, if you kind of look back on all the stuff I was going through, for me at least, it doesn't make sense to end up where I'm at now. And I think that's kind of why I also wanted to make this video. Even though I've been touching on faith, some people say faith without works is dead, and, you know, works can mean many things, you know. Sometimes no action is greater than action, or doing nothing is the most powerful thing you can do. And perception is everything, and, you know, some people think good looks different than other people, and we're all kind of trying to figure out what it looks like. But if you have faith that we are all eventually, once at some point, some of us going to get there, you will be more greatly taken care of than the people that are in disbelief of the process of us as an entirety succeeding in some way. Because the people that are in control have the most power. Not the people that we think are in control spiritually. People that can work on people's emotions. People that can control their soul, the way they feel, how they physically act, what they physically see. The true magicians behind the scenes. Those in league with the Creator that have controls over this reality, basically. They're always working for your benevolence. And as long as you choose the path of good, they're going to help you. And don't think it's easy, because look how difficult it is for me to tell you this message. I mean, I'm hiding behind a dumpster in my brand new apartment complex because, well, just use your imagination. You might get saved out of one situation. That doesn't mean they're not going to have to save you out of another situation. And the more that you get to know people, the better it is for your sake. But what it takes to get to know them should never take something from you. If people are going to give you any benevolent information about you, about themselves, if they have it, it's going to be given to you. It will never be taken, or you will never need to prove that you deserve it in any way. That's purely malevolence. So, yeah, I guess I can start rounding this off. I'm just like you guys, you know what I mean? I'm just trying to do my own thing. And gotta be honest, it doesn't really matter how old you are. I think the process to beginning to live a productive lifestyle it's more important. The sooner the better. So if you're getting this message at a young age, I think the best thing you can do is to identify in your life who is malevolent and who is benevolent. And for me, that was the greatest compass. And even though I had such an amazing compass in my life, I was thrown incredible obstacles and distractions in order to be misguided by this beautiful compass. And you guys will too, especially if you hear this message. This is the warning you guys need to hear. If you're getting this light, this energy from me, maybe I'm crazy, but it feels like it's under attack. So don't take it for granted. And when it comes to the stuff that I do and the direction that I want to go, you have to be on the defense. You have to be ready for war, to be honest, because that's what spirituality is. It's a never-ending war, but it's going to end. That's the name of the game. And if you don't know anything about spirituality, for me, the Bible has been the most simplistic and palatable food possible to understand it, because it is a war and you are living in it, whether you like it or not. You're going to be abused or used like a pawn if you choose to be one. And if you can maneuver your way out of pawnhood into some sort of bishop, knighthood, whatever, you're going to have to hone those responsibilities for benevolence, because you'll be convinced otherwise. You will be misguided otherwise, deceived otherwise, and you'll make mistakes like everyone else. Not because you're evil, but because your flesh is flawed and your flesh is hungry. But your flesh is flawed and your flesh deserves less in order to manipulate your flesh. And that's the point of this whole thing, is overcoming that flesh. And how do you overcome it? You simply evolve. That's that's the only answer I have, and that's not easy, but it's not hard. That's also a message. And a part of the hair cutting process that I'm about to partake in is about evolution. It's about accepting change and accepting loss, but also growth, and believing in yourself to continue that growth. Even when you're old and gray, you're still gonna grow some hair, man. That body ain't gonna give up. As long as you can teach it which way to go, it will be a force to be reckoned with. And that's what's important, is having that compass and having that guide, having people that can help you understand why you're here and which direction you need to go. Because some people don't care about your safety for malicious reasons, particularly spiritual, but they may not know that. A lot of people are being manipulated by the spiritual realm, and they don't actually know that, because their flesh is so easily manipulated. It's so controlled. To be honest, it's genetics. You can get born into flesh that's more easily controlled or more susceptible than others, but it's how you use your flesh. How you use your body is going to determine whether or not you will become more or less susceptible. I've seen people born into amazing lives with great opportunities fall victim to their flesh. Like, a bird into a fucking windmill or a energy thing, like a bird into a windshield. And I've seen the opposite, people with completely destroyed lives, victims of every possible thing you could imagine, through grace achieve glory and righteousness. And one of the greatest and most productive ways and most difficult, unpalatable things to do that has that power, the gloriness of God that can offer you safety and sanctuary, is humility. A lot of the times, if you're humiliated and you're willing to admit that you have done wrong, because you're not going to get into these situations unless something has either put you there in a humiliating way, or you have done something to deserve humiliation. So if you can't own that humility, if you can't agree with it, you can't get to the next step. And a lot of times that's where people get stuck. There's these different steps that people get stuck in, and humility is one of them. And for me, it was a big step. I completely regret ever being humiliated. I don't even know when it happened, but it did. And I had to admit, like, I know it did, and I blocked it out. I mean, now it's coming back, but I can block it out again. But being humble is one of the most important things that you can do. It's going to get you from point A to point B faster than anything else, because, like I said, our greatest power is connection, and you can't connect with anybody if you can't be humble. Because if you can't be humble, then the connections that you have with other people are just unsafe. It's not good for them, and it's not good for you. I probably got like 2 minutes left before I run out of data again, but if I'm going to say anything else, it's going to be when I was in college and I felt more alone than anything. Even though I had my faith, I felt more alone than anything, and my faith was being tested to the point where it felt it was incapable of getting me through. The work that I needed to do was sell the jewelry that I had possessed with the resources that I had managed to gain, that I thought was going to give me confidence and guidance in order to establish a relationship with a living being, which was my cat, Momo. And before I had Momo, I was going through this process of anguish that became physically painful, dreadful. I had this beautiful jewelry. I got incarnated gemstones for my birthday, and I thought because it was going to align with my being, that I was going to have this guidance and aura magnetism, and people would follow me, and I could create this guild almost, or some sort of a group. But people aren't attracted to people that are needy. You're not going to, unless they themselves are corrupt. Benevolent people won't seek others in that way. They won't need others in that way. They will have things attracted to them. And it's not about what you can do to create an image, but how you can benevolently create in this life. And that has to do with connection. And I knew at that time, when I was going through I had physical back pain, like spiking pins and needles, when I would try to work on music, the one thing I wanted to do, and I was going to college for. And I was getting like what I thought spiritually attacked, because it's like in my head I was processing so much negativity. That's when it would come up. And fear and doubt. And I thought, wow, I can't get through this. I can't physically get through this. This is so physically painful. I can't even work on my college work. And at the time I didn't have cats, and I was always worried about, wow, I'm going to be so alone, and I'm going to have so much loneliness that I just can't exist, basically. But after I got Momo and his sister Mimi, because I got them at the same time, I still have the picture of Mimi, a couple of the video when they were kids, but when I got them, the whole thing turned around, and I knew that was a complete confirmation of how love is more powerful than anything, but you need to share it. If you're alone, you can't grow. When you have another soul, whether it's an animal or a human or anything, and you share love with them, that aura magnifies, and actually it's like a detoxification of that corrupted negative parasites that I thought the vampires were killing me with. And I keep getting my videos deleted as soon as I talk about it. But yeah, that's what I came out of. And so love is so powerful. It can detoxify your spiritual aura and give you elasticity or longevity. And in my case, it was life-changing, maybe life-saving, probably life-saving, because I'm still recovering from the realities that I've dipped my toes into at this point. But it just goes to show that anyone can do it. I've done it with majority of my life, nothing in my bank account, but through faith, through humility, acceptance, and love itself, connection, I have overcome and achieved something that I never thought I could. But there's nothing else to make an excuse for that. That is truly the reason why I'm here at this point, and I wanted to share that. And that's, it's been a dark VOD or whatever, but it's like a moonlight, But yes, stay tuned for the hair cutting. We're gonna do that shit tomorrow, and next time I'm gonna grow the shit even longer than it is now. I'm gonna show you how long it is on the next one, but next time we grow it even longer. I'm gonna have my whole schedule, my whole routine down. I'm so excited to tell you guys. I got everything going on for me now, but basically I came out of like what felt like the pits of hell, and maybe that's what everybody goes through. So hang in there, you got this. I still got the thing on me. I'm at a super loss here for words. I'm about to cut it, but like I wanted to do a little video because I had so much on my mind. So much is going on in my life right now that this whole hair cutting thing doesn't really seem important. But I know it's still a part of my whole thing that I want to do. Dang, that stuff got long, really long. And I'm gonna have it back again one day. I haven't wanted to see myself attractive in a long time. The first part of this 3-part whatever is gonna be about like just sad. You probably already saw it, but what I was trying to say was that it's funny because I talked a lot about faith, or at least I tried to, and one of the greatest things that I'm struggling with right now is faith, even though I'm gonna basically zombie walk into the next chapter of my life because of faith. If I had more, I feel like I wouldn't be a zombie, but I also don't feel like I can be normal right now, or that's what's even needed. I think this is about the length I finally wanted it to be too. It takes a long time. There's majority of the time it's so hard it looks so weird. I don't even know what to do with it. The thing is though, the next time I think I'm gonna grow it even longer. Yeah, that was my plan. I'm gonna next time try to grow it even longer. So now I'll know that this is kind of like where it was. This kind of long right now, but I think I could go like honestly like a few inches longer, and that'll probably be it. And I just start trimming it. I met the most incredible person, a incredible group of people. If you're watching this, keep going. You guys are amazing, and I hope you guys don't look back, because I can't. So yeah, if something's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. So the best thing that you can do is, honestly, I think You have to convince yourself that you're going to be okay in the craziest positions, the craziest circumstances. And your position is everything. Where you put yourself at what point in time is so much more important than what you say or do. Because where you are can affect the people that have all the power, the people that have all the favor and control. And they'll guide you. I've been guided so well to get to this point. I had to listen to a lot of other people I don't even know, people that love me. They didn't have to say it. And I hope you guys find those people too, because they're all around you. They're everywhere. There's so many of them. It's so easy to think that everyone's the same when you're hurt and you don't want to grow. You push everybody away, thinking that nobody has what you need. But the thought of like you assuming that you are lacking something in general, that is the wrong position to take. Whenever you feel like you don't have something, or something that you want, or even something that you think you could use well, it doesn't mean that you're ready to get hands-on. I mean, most of the time we have all these wants and concerns and nobody does the homework. And even the people that do still make mistakes. So what you think you want or need doesn't really line up with what God wants you to do most of the time. Because we've just grown so far away from Him. But the best part about Him in life itself is that He will never leave you, and you can always talk to Him. And there's nobody better to talk to, especially if you want to feel healing. A lot of healing comes from understanding. I think a lot of people have a lot of confusion, and that's kind of where it all begins. I think most people are afraid to build a foundation because I think it takes a lot of faith to build a foundation. Once the foundation's built, it takes a lot less faith to put stuff on top of it, you know? It's basically set in stone. So yeah, I'm gonna chop this thing down. I didn't know what I was gonna say. I was probably gonna go on today about all kinds of stuff. I even brought myself a drink because I thought, oh, okay, well, that's kind of what I was gonna talk about, and I might as well bring it up now since I'm doing this. I put a lot of water and orange juice in here though, but I really need to stop drinking altogether. At least for like a good year or two. That would be great. I could see it in my skin. My shit is dead. I mean, I feel like at this point in my life I can come back if I turn myself around, but it's crazy when you get everything you need to turn around, how hard it is to keep walking. I feel like all my prayers have been answered, but I don't want to move, and I'm not even close to where I'm supposed to be. It's the wildest feeling. I've been able to take a bunch of emotions in for a long time, and I didn't know how to handle it for a long time. And I'm finally starting to be able to just kind of metabolize a lot all at once, because it doesn't feel normal, and that's okay. When you believe that something wrong with being not normal, I think that's kind of like a spiral that nobody really needs to go down, because it's not the point of life. Like, the point of life is about being unique. And I think Christianity gives that a difficult approach, because I remember when I was going to church, sorry, hard tangent, but I like talking about faith and my faith and my path, because it's not common, and people deserve to have these obstacles that they're in figured out. I mean, at least some of them. The fact that as a whole we're still going means that, if we all shared the solutions, everybody would figure it out. But for me, it's not that I chose not going to church because I didn't want to be around God, or I didn't think that I could be around God. It was that I didn't want to go to church because I knew that just because you go to church, it doesn't mean that you deserve to be saved. And just because you don't go to church, it doesn't mean that you don't deserve to hear the word and learn about God. And there's so many people that don't go to church. And then vice versa. They'll go to church, but maybe I'm asking too much of them. It just feels like they're, in my personal opinion, a lot of them felt like NPCs. But I think most of the time is people expect you to approach them with complete humility, and a lot of the times you can grow up going through life having a difficult time dealing with humility just because you've spent so much time around it. You need to pivot into something else. Just like everything else in life, you can't focus on something too long. You have to pivot. That's the beauty of it. It's always fresh. It never stays the same or anything like that. And that's kind of another reason why I'm cutting this whole macaroni. Because it's just going to help me to realize what stage of life I'm in. Like every day I wake up, every moment I touch my head, I'm going to remember, like, this is your opportunity to change. Because the growth you're going to see, it's going to be visible, it's going to be tangible, it's going to be a part of you. And the more that I feel like the more that you can express that or accentuate that the better. You want to lean into all forms of life, especially when you're going through them. So yeah, the next video is actually going to be with a new phone, which is going to be cool. I can't wait. I've had this thing for a long time. It's burning a hole in the back of my hand, or in the front of my hand. But I have a feeling the other one will too. But I don't have to hold them as much anymore. I got my setup back. I'm excited. I'm more nervous than excited, but I'm excited. And don't rush me, because I am crawling after all those vampires that were stalking me. And they weren't pretty. In fact, most of them, I want to say, I'm not going to say. It's so rude for old people, but I feel like most of them were senior citizens. But I think most people don't realize the damage that they're doing, because it's so easy to get stuck in your ways, especially when you start getting stuck at a young age. It's incredibly difficult to get out, and that's one of the things that I'm so proud of myself, is being able to kind of get out of a lot of the things that I was stuck in. There was something specifically dark that I was stuck in, even to this week. Like 24 hours ago, I took care of it, and I never felt better. And the last thing I wanted to do was let go of that blankie that I was holding on to. But there's something more about it than that. It's a shield, but it's not being used against the right people. It's being used against the wrong people. And even though what I thought would change everything feels like it didn't change anything on the outside, I know that it changed everything for me on the inside. And I can move forward with clarity, and that's the important part about transition, is your focus. Because I don't want it to sound like I'm transitioning, but transformation in general is about focusing into wherever it is that you're trying to go. If you want to get there as efficiently as possible, you can't really have any distractions. And I'm not saying that there was something that was distracting me. If there was, it was myself that was allowing myself to get distracted by it. And I know that if you're meant to have something, it'll always find its way back to you. So There's some things that I'm not afraid to let go of, because at the end of the day, I mean, you really do have to let go of everything, and that's at certain points in your life that can be the most difficult thing to realize and deal with. I'm gonna delete some files because I know this video is gonna ask me to do that and cut me off in the middle. Okay, one more quick video and then I'm gonna cut this thing off. I don't even know what I'm gonna talk about, but I gotta talk about something because I gotta finish this. You know, it's funny. I bought this thinking, oh, I'm gonna be so nervous, I'm not gonna want to talk or say anything. I'm not gonna want to do it. But maybe also, I'm kind of lying because I had chugged like a quarter of it before I mixed it with water and orange juice. It's just a mango cart, but it was like I mean, they're mostly all big, but yeah, it's interesting because it reminded me, actually, I haven't had a mango cart. Technically, I had one at a different rave, but I remember predominantly drinking mango cart at Imagine Festival in Georgia when I was in the military, and one of the best parts about that was how strict my formation rules and everything were. I had to drive super fast on the freeway, like 100 miles an hour, to get there after formation. I had packed my bags, got out of formation, drove straight to the rave, and then camped there in my car for 3 days, and then I had to drive back 100 miles an hour to get at formation on Monday morning, which is like 6 p.m. And I just remember standing in formation thinking that was the most amazing dream weekend of my life. And I think it still is to this day. But it kind of inspired the whole movement that I've been trying to move. And that's really just letting, like, if you can, dropping everything and chasing after what you know feels right. And yeah, even though I was stuck in that army after that for years, it changed everything for me. It helped me to see that it was confirmation, complete confirmation, because I'd never actually been to a real rave. And I'm not saying I would go to one now or if I'll never go to one, but I know that I haven't wanted to go to one for a while, because life itself can be so exhausting that you need what feels like years to recover, even after a few months even. So, but I've never felt closer to wanting to go to one. Since I stopped. I also need to take care of my teeth. I'm gonna have to get my own dental work done. So I'm saving up for dental work because I still have the metal stuff. Hopefully I edit out all that good stuff. I think I want to get into more editing too. I think the idea of video editing is fun to me, even though it's going to take me a little while to kind of like speed that process up. It does look enjoyable, especially now that I have all the time that I have. That's the most important part, and I'll probably talk more about that in the final part after the cut of my hair. It's just going to be like hopefully it's going to be more all good stuff, and then this would be kind of like a balance, but it's going to be really good because I can't wait to talk about how liberated I've become in my own life. And even though it was an extremely difficult and unusual process, I think there's patterns that other people can utilize. So we'll see. I'll let you guys know, and stay tuned. We're gonna be streaming only on YouTube for a little while. I wanted to give it a try. I think Twitch is getting toxic. I mean, YouTube seems a little bit more wholesome, but I haven't tried it yet, so we'll see. But yeah, if you stay to the whole thing, you're awesome, and I can't wait to make more videos. I'm back. I was gonna touch up the back, but I don't think anyone's really gonna see it. So, yeah, it's an incredible, beautiful day today. Absolutely gorgeous. I don't know why, I was like, I'm not gonna show places where I live too much, but then I was like, oh, it probably looks nice over there. I'm gonna edit that out. I'm gonna edit this out. I wanted to make this video so that I don't really have to explain why I'm starting the next chapters of my life, I guess, or why they're even starting. But everything's starting to kind of add up and make a lot more sense to me now in the best ways possible, which is incredible. I've never felt closer to my purpose in life, and it's because I've always seen it since I was a kid. I've always envisioned it. I've always thought of what it could feel like, but I didn't know what it was gonna look like. But as I grew up going through different things, I knew what I liked, or what felt familiar, and what felt comfortable and safe. And I just held on to those things as much as I could to get me to here. Some of those things were wrong. And it's so easy to identify the closer that you get by making the right decisions. The more decisions that you make that are better for you, the easier it is to see which decisions are wrong. I act like I wish I had somebody who would tell me how to not make a mistake when I was a kid, but when you realize that the point of life is to experience, as long as you feel like you're going down the right path, you can still, if at least for me, it feels like you can still walk, you know, and that's all you really have to do. You don't even have to walk, you can crawl. And for the last couple of months, that's what I've been doing. But it wasn't because I was weak, it was because I was scared. Because I mentally and emotionally was not able to handle what I felt was coming next. Because it was two extremes and I wasn't ready for either of them. But because I was allowed to crawl, thank you, Lord, it gave me a lot of time to think. You think a lot when you're crawling, when you're on your hands and knees. Good thoughts usually, difficult thoughts, but they're usually helping you get to where you're supposed to be. This is supposed to be a happy video. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm gonna start with Midnight. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use that 80 boost character that you get from, I don't know if you get that from pre-purchasing or just from purchasing it, but I'm gonna use that guy and just like no expectations, except for upon myself for having fun, right? Like I'm not gonna try to like do anything. I'm just gonna like experience it the way it's produced, naturally. And then once we hit max level, I will probably make an alt just so that I'm not fried out on my Holy Paladin. I'm gonna make a Holy Paladin. I'm so excited. I've always wanted to make a Holy Paladin to max level, and I never wanted that. Well, I always had one max level like way back in the day, like Wrath, I think. Actually, not after Wrath. There was a couple expansions where I got my my Paladin up there, but I had so many alts, and so I'm what you call an alt-aholic and an alcoholic. But the alcohol is I've learned to microdose, and I think that's healthy for me right now. I could see myself getting off of it, but the point of alcohol isn't to be worried about whether or not you need it. It's there for when you do, and if you use it when you don't, there's consequences that I'm very much aware. Happy episode. I'm gonna be trying to drinking like bare minimum. Like I feel like if I ever need a drink, I can just microdose it. At this point, I just love creating new drinks with like water and juice and microdosing alcohol. But yeah, I could see that slope being quite slippery. I think it's gonna actually be the same thing for weed for me, and like just right now I'm just like weaning off of it slowly, but it feels like the right thing to do. It's just, you know, obviously you don't want to throw your crutches all at once. You know, you kind of want to hobble off of them slowly, but that's what it is. That's what everything is in life, really, because life's heavy, so heavy. I'm excited. I'm so excited for midnight because it's so much content and I'm so unfamiliar with retail. I can't wait to get into housing. I really think I'm gonna like it. I've seen some stuff where I'm like, what? I never would have expected them to invest into that. But I think what happened and what people don't realize is like a lot of the, I want to say divine feminine, but a lot of females that got into gaming, I think, added this sort of gentle touch to especially the design. And a lot of I would say not divine masculine, I would say the opposite, demonic masculine, have satanic even, have found a way to almost find that as a reason to go to war. And it's like they're missing the blessing that is being presented to them. And that for me, you know, that could be as simple as player housing. But and just how you could see the way that it was kind of developed. It seems like, you know, growing up, from my experience, no man could possibly have that. Well, there's some gentlemen out there, you know, and they have extremely attention to detail and are incredibly concerned about people's mental well-being. But you just don't see them. Sometimes you don't see them every day. That's okay, you know, you're supposed to be the one. You really are, and you really can be. Male or female, you can be that person for yourself that sees what's right, even though they can't tell you. They can't say anything. It can be extremely difficult. Sometimes you can feel like you need to walk away. Like somebody's not ready to hear the words that you want to say. But words aren't necessarily the bridge that needs to be built, I think. I don't think there's really, I mean, they help, that's for sure. But your intentions are everything, and beyond what you say, they are going to be revealed eventually. You know, some people, they wait a long time to reveal them. Some people, they can't wait. So if you're either of those people, don't be afraid. You know, people are different and their intentions can vary. You know, they come in all different shapes and sizes, and they're always changing. They're just like our bodies. As our bodies grow or develop or shrink or deteriorate, so do the intentions and of our will. And I think your physical body is an expression of your intentions. As hard as people want to believe, the mirror that we are given is something that we need to receive. And life is so beautiful and worth perceiving that people need to embrace it and face it, because it's so beautiful. You know, why not? And I am really excited for this. This is going to be the to be honest, it seems like for me the most exciting chapter in my life, because I feel free. I'm finally doing my own thing. It feels like people are protecting me, and I know exactly who or what I need to be aware of and concerned with, and how much of it I need to help me grow. Because everything is there for you to grow. If it's just, are you going to take too much? Are you going to overdose it? Are you going to microdose it? Are you going to take it at the right time? But yeah, so I think I'm ready. Yeah, the alts. With the alt, I wanted to do like a hardcore challenge. So I would have like a level 0 character on midnight and see if I could get them to max level without dying, which sounds incredibly difficult, but also incredibly fun. So maybe there'll be an add-on, maybe not. But we have the stream, so we can prove it if we can get there. It might be a montage, but I think once I start being comfortable walking, I'll start getting into the swing of things. But thanks for watching, guys. And I hope you're enjoying life as much as I am, because it's so beautiful and worth enjoying every minute and every moment. Every person deserves to be enjoyed and embraced. And I love you all. And I hope to see more of you guys everywhere, all over the world.